1 week after a deadline passed for mutinous soldiers in Niger to reinstate the elected president or face military intervention, coup leaders are now open to diplomacy to resolve a standoff with West Africa's regional bloc, a group of senior Nigerian Islamic scholars said on Sunday. General Tiani declared that his door was open to explore the path of diplomacy and peace in order to resolve the crisis. ECOWAS was exploring its options to restore civilian rule in Niger, including potential military intervention, following the ouster of President Mohamed Bazoum on the 26th of July. The seventh coup in West and Central Africa in 3 years. Meanwhile, thousands of people attended a concert in support of the army officers who overthrew the government. Almost 500 children have been killed and over 1,000 injured since Russia launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine. They stressed that the figures are incomplete because of the difficulty gathering data in areas occupied by Russian forces. Just today, an infant and a 12-year-old boy died in Russian shelling in the Kherson region. Last month, the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights reported that over 9,000 civilians have been killed and 16,000 wounded since the start of the war. At this moment in time, 7.5 million children in Ukraine are in grave danger of physical harm, severe emotional distress and displacement. Airstrikes and explosions have damaged essential services like schools and hospitals, warn NGOs. Veronica Sarau, the now widow of centrist presidential candidate Fernando Villavicencio, killed last week allegedly by organized crime, has blamed the state for her husband's death. She denounced a lack of protection measures after her husband was shot several times while leaving a rally at a school in Quinto on Thursday.
No lo protegieron como debían haberle protegido. El Estado estaba a cargo de la seguridad de Fernando. El Estado es el responsable directo del asesinato de mi esposo Fernando Villavicencio. El Estado tiene que dar todavía muchísimas respuestas de todo lo que pasó.
Currently, 6 Colombians have been ordered to preventive detention, accused of being alleged hitmen. It's still not clear who is behind the shooting. Authorities moved gang leader Jose Adolfo Macias into a maximum security prison on Saturday. Villavicencio had accused the Los Choneros boss of threatening him and his campaign just days before he was killed.
Israeli author Tomer Dreyfus is one of a growing number of people from his country making Germany home. He left in 2011 over his disagreement with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's politics. Now, Tomer says, Netanyahu's re-election and judicial reforms that have led to massive protests are making Israelis consider following his lead.
A lot of people have contacted me from my circle of friends, from my family, and even people that I don't know. I get tons of messages all the time regarding tips and advice on leaving Israel and coming to Germany.
Companies in Israel say they are getting a surge in interest in people wanting to gain German citizenship.
Germany is considered to be a very stable country in Europe. All the world know what Germany is. Many Jews came from Germany, Jewish families. Their descendants now are asking for this.
Government statistics say nearly 3,700 Israelis received German citizenship last year. And there are a total of more than 14,000 people with Israeli citizenship living in Germany. But Israelis are also facing difficulties. Police say that an Israeli tourist was attacked in this neighborhood this month after speaking over the phone in Hebrew. They say they're looking at a possible anti-Semitic motive. It comes as a far-right Alternative for Deutschland, or AfD party, is seeing record high numbers in the polls. In the past, an AfD politician complained about Berlin's Holocaust Memorial, calling it a monument of shame. Polls suggest the party is now the second most popular in the country. In June, it won an election to lead a district for the first time. This expert on the far right says one of the AfD's greatest chances of success is with EU elections.
I think if they can mobilize their people, they also will gain a lot of seats there. And I think that is really something that I'm afraid of, because that means an imminent threat. That's not something on the long term.
3 of Tomer's grandparents are Holocaust survivors. He says he's especially fearful of the far right in Germany because of its history in the country.
I think the rise of the far right in Germany is frightening to me as a Jew and as an immigrant. And it should be clear that it's also a very big problem for us, because we're in the same boat as other oppressed groups and other diasporic groups in Germany.
Are you a recent graduate or just looking for a new job? Well, how much do you think about AI screening bots when writing your resume? Whatever the answer, it's probably not enough, because AI could be the thing keeping you out in the cold, even if you are qualified.
Let's talk about the CD hiring software that employers use that scans your resume and how you can beat it.
The technology they are referencing, known as ATS, is increasingly common. According to a study by Harvard Business School, some 99% of Fortune 500 companies use it to screen applicants. This despite the study finding that the vast majority of companies know that this technology has a dark side, namely that the software is screening qualified applicants out. There are many reasons this happens. In 2018, Amazon stopped production of its hiring software because it was ranking qualified female applicants below their male counterparts. ATS can also reject applicants with long gaps in their resume or be confused by lengthy and wordy job postings.
ATS systems, like almost all forms of artificial intelligence, don't think, they don't reason, they're not smart in the way humans think of intelligence. Quite a lot of the problems with artificial intelligence in hiring actually fall at the feet of the employer, not the technology. Job descriptions are ingested by AI the way they are written, and the technology takes the language in that job description and more or less treats it as scripture.
But there are some things you can do to try to get around this. If you're worried about a gap, you can pick up some part-time or gig work so that the screening bots don't flag that you had a career break. Candidates can also use new technologies, such as ChatGPT, to determine the most important skills to highlight on a resume. Or they can go to LinkedIn and look up how people at the company describe their jobs and echo that on their own resumes. But AI is also progressing rapidly, meaning that screening is not the only time that a person could encounter this technology during the hiring process. In some cases, AI is now writing the job post, screening applicants, and even interviewing them. A problem, according to some AI experts, because during the interview stage, the software relies on programming that's been described as pseudoscience. It makes decisions based on unfounded assumptions about body language and even physical appearance, such as wearing glasses. In this case, cautious applicants should speak to the hiring team if they want to opt out.
I would encourage candidates to be able and willing to reach out to their contact at a company when they're being hired and say, actually, I do have these concerns. It's very important to me to make sure that I'm being treated fairly. I would like to request a human interviewer. And here I can attach some resources, some newspaper articles, some academic articles, which show that actually my concerns are really legitimate.
Hungary's biggest music event, the Sziget Festival, stands up against Russian aggression. At the main stage, Ukrainian artist Dima Malachov performed in front of thousands. More than 10 Ukrainian artists perform at the Sziget Festival this year. Most of them were brought to the festival by an NGO set up by music industry workers made redundant by the war.
People in Ukraine got more interested in Ukrainian music than before, and that's why I began to perform more, or I've got more like monthly listeners on different platforms.
This year, the UN set up stalls to inform festival goers and draw attention to the current problems refugees are facing.
Már nem arról van szó, hogy a határon vagy különböző ilyen gyülekező pontokon kell ételt vagy takarókat osztani. Most már arról van szó másfél év elteltével, hogy segíteni kell a menekülteknek beilleszkedni, integrálódni a társadalomba, hiszen mindenki láthatja, alig ha lehet bárkinek kétsége afelől, hogy ez a háború még sokáig el fog tartani.
Russia, on the other hand, is another story.
A tavalyi évvel ellentétben idén nincsenek orosz fellépők a fesztiválon, de az orosz vendégeket most is szívesen látják, amit mi sem bizonyít jobban, mint hogy a bejáratnál most is ki van rakva az ország zászlaja.
Euronews journalist soon encountered a girl from Russia now living in Budapest.
I moved here for work and I feel Hungary is a very welcoming country. I don't have any issues.
One thing's for sure, the Sziget Festival has room for both the Ukrainian and the Russian flag.